Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Shooting the Shelf, episode 4 of season 4. Curtis, I did the math. This is legacy episode 134.
Oh, 134. Very nice.
So that's over 100. I mean, it was 104 episodes since you full on came on time, and a couple episodes before that. So over 100 episodes with both of us.
Wow.
So 134 this week. So just thought
Very
everybody would like to know that.
But yeah, I need to jump in real quick because I teased something on the Latin Legions. So there's some people I know that were over on that channel tuned in just to hear what I have to say right now, which is that Matt over on the Latin Legions channel he just brings like straight fire truth and facts. So you should definitely turn into the Latin Legions every week to hear what Matt has to say, because Matt, I tell you what, that guy, he's on top of his stuff. There's a lot of great guys over there on Latin Legions, but that Matt, he knows his stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of folks in the chat and a lot of weapons out there. So, what was I going to say? I don't know what I was going to say.
Did I throw you off on the WEPA? Did I?
No,
okay.
No.
I didn't want to derail you.
It doesn't take much. No, I just, like, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. How about it?
It's not so much that it's people watching the show, but it's people hanging out with us. So as I see the names pop up in the chat, it just makes me excited to be like, these are our people. And I don't mean like our fans or the people, like our friends. These are genuinely our friends. Now, some of you people, I may not know your name to your face in person yet, but like, it always, it's just fun that we're all kind of hanging out together, even though we're the ones on screen, if that makes sense. So it just
yeah, I mean, I would say most of the people in the chat we would do friends and family deals with.
So. Oh boy. Yeah.
Too soon. All right.
Just I mean,
speaking of friends and family and deals and just cool things, got this in from Trevor16 Shooter. This is the Muff Toys Superman, Clark Kent, protector of Metropolis. Dude, this might be my favorite figure ever. Like, it is so freaking cool. So thank you so much, Trevor. I've been looking for one of these. Did not want to buy a toy this year. Still got to figure out what I'm trading him, but he agreed to trade that to me. And this is really special. He threw in a Trevor Williams painted shield, Cabal shield. I mean, we knew he did awesome photography, but look at that paint job. Yeah, Trevor Williams.
That's awesome.
Definitely not staying in his lane. So
Jordan with a dive into the muff.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I've been playing with this muff for the last couple days, and I really enjoy it. So can't keep my hands off it, really. So we've got some folks in the chat with us. You want me to shout them out, or
yep, go right ahead. I'm gonna need a minute to. Yep.
We got Blake, aka Recon Rage, out there. We got Dave Orkin in the chat. We got Dub3 in the house. Kerr B, Carver Customs, Brian Lynn. He was in the customizing studio today doing some work, making some cool Dio type stuff and some columns, and yeah, being awesome. We got Stacy Lynn. It's two Lyns there. Stacy, I need to talk to you after the show. Actually, I may message you at some point during the show, so be on the lookout. I may send you a little messenger thing, just FYI. Tanya McCoy is here. We got Who Warlock. Jordan is in the house. And Jordan had to do a little babysitting duty last night, so he might be a little tired. If he's not commenting as much, just be aware. He's just, he was busy. So we got Guaisagwe here. Echevarria. KB Toys, right straight from my childhood onto our chat. We got KB Toys here. Sig is here. Sig's Art and Toys, or Sig Toys Art, and all his toys and arts and cool stuff. Ruben is here. Wepa! We got Kevin McCoy here. So that's both McCoys. It's 3 Lens. We got 1 Orkin so far. We got Captain Firebeard Baker. Speaking of captains, I was one of the things that I told you I was painting all weekend. One of the things that I was painting was the Sogmaster from Captain Crunch cereal box, the little,
Oh yeah,
like 3 of them, and I wanted to do like a full paint job of it. And it's still a work in progress, but I made some really good progress on the details on the chest, which are super tiny. I mean, the thing's only 2 inches tall total, so the stuff on his chest is like really tiny. But I was pretty happy with it, the progress I made. We got Collectible Fun is here. Jin is here as well. We got Eddie in the house. They just did a great episode with Chubsy over on the Latin Legions.
Nice.
I am TJ Williams in the house. The H is silent, so just FYI.
So is that LO everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
We got Rob Zamora, the man with the most comfortable shirt in the whole community. Dusty Standiford is here. We got JG. We've got Benny Torres. Scrolling. Juan Diego Rincon. Scrolling.
It is a great intro, Juan.
Michael Morales. Yeah. Everybody loves. That's my favorite part. Thralling FR Glory. A lot of people think it's the or 2, and that's a good part, but the everybody loves gets me every freaking time. Rosedale Studios is here. Hey, we got a super chat already for Kevin Maboots. You want to read that one for us, Jesse?
Yeah, $1.99 super chat from the amazing Kevin M. Boots. Good evening. Good evening to you, sir.
And he was using some flat paints today for the first time, so hope that all went well. Looked like it was he was making some good progress. Jose Sanchez is here. Oz showed up. I messaged Oz. I told him, hey, we got a Baltimore boy here. You need to show up. So Joe Gonzalez in the house. Joe, first time I've seen it. He says he's popped in before, but I've never seen it. First time I've seen it. Joe was in the customizing studio today.
Ooh.
I was pretty happy. Like, he not only that he was there painting with us and a little fellowship and stuff, but just that he got a day off work. I mean, Joe's been working so much overtime the past couple months. The fact that he got a day off work and could just paint and hang out, that was awesome. So one thing was weird though. I guess it was cold in his house, which I mean, I guess there are extreme temperatures in Nevada or something, but he like kept putting on more and more stocking caps. So like he started with 1 and like it just like kept growing as the customizing studio went on. So he looked like a mushroom head at the end. So
okay.
Mike V is here. Oh, Steph Orkin is here. So we got both Orkins, we got both McCoys, and we got 3 Lens. David Williams, we got Joe Vassapolo here. One day all of this will be his. Everything that the sun touches. Fizzbomb is here. MJ Staten. We got Arthas here. Arthas was also in customizing studio. I mentioned Jen earlier, but he was in the studio as well. And yeah. Joe says he went outside. So yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's everybody.
You have to bring up one comment, even though
sure.
Even though you mentioned them, I do have to bring up.
Yeah.
Ba Weep Grana Weep Ninny Bong.
For Indeed. Sure. Indeed. Oh, we got one more person just jumped in. Pink Lemonade. So there you go.
I'm with you on that, Joe.
Is that because the moon's made of cheese, and so anything it touches has more cheese on it? I know you're
thought of it that way,
but because you really like your cheese ratio. You like it to be really high.
I do.
Yeah.
But that definitely persuaded me. Yeah.
There you go. And Nathaniel Armstrong is here. I've got a how'd you do that with him scheduled tomorrow. It won't air for a couple weeks, but I'm pretty excited because his brain is like really interesting. So taking a little tour through his brain will be, it's gonna be something. So
see, now all I can think of is the moon from the Mighty Boosh, where it's just the guy covered in like whipped cream or shaving cream, and he's like, I'm the moon.
You got me and Darla with that one.
Good.
We're gonna end the show now, folks. Jesse's gonna end on a high note. So, we haven't really talked much because you've been busy. I've been busy. You haven't been. But like I think it was last week you were in the chat on OffWorld, and you said one of the funniest things, dude. I was dying like days later, where you said we're measuring hands now in feet, and I was because Alan was in the chat, and Alan had said that he's got like a big King Kong hand in his house. He's got like an 8-foot long King Kong hand, and you go, we're measuring hands and feet now. It killed me. I was done. So. Yeah.
Well, because there's always the running joke that like America will use anything but the metric system to measure. Like, oh, it's 84 bananas, and I'm like, wait, we're measuring feet with hands, or hands with feet.
Good stuff. All right, well, we've got a guest, and we've already kept him waiting. We should probably get him out here. Go ahead, Jesse.
Folks, coming to you. We mentioned from Baltimore. We've got Mike from Junkion Crafts and Builds joining us on the shelf tonight. Give a round warm of applause. Mike, everybody, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invite, both you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you coming.
Everything so far here in the back. So, and I have to say, first and foremost, Jesse, you really say it a lot, and it really resonates with what we do here with me and my co-host on the podcast. When you see those same names in the chat, and you know them, you have great conversations with them, it just makes everything all warm and fuzzy. So
yeah, we love our peeps. I think that's what makes like the conventions that we go to so special, that it's like these truly are people that we love and care about. Like it's not just names on a chat screen. So yeah, absolutely beautiful. Well, at the start of the show we do a little thing called shelf selections, which is where normally it's where Jesse and I have found pictures throughout the week that inspired us that we pull up and talk about from Instagram. But this week, Mike sent me some shelf selections. And there was an episode not too long ago where we had multiple guests that sent us shelf selections, and me and Jesse had some. And so it like ended up being like 2 hours of shelf selections. So when Mike sent me his, I decided I wasn't going to do shelf selections for myself for the week. So it was just going to be Mike and Jesse. And then today came, and I found a couple that I had to throw in there. So I do have two. I have two shelf selections, but the rest are all going to be Jesse and Mike. But I've got mine at the very beginning because they just came in last. So just FYI. So we're going to go ahead and pull those up. So it'll be mine, and then we'll start alternating between you guys. So
clearly you don't work in a grocery store because it's first in, first out. But
yeah, no, that's it's not how that worked. All right, so this is the first one of mine. This is Axion_Figs on Instagram. You can catch him. I'm sure he does tons of stuff on YouTube, but the place that I know him from is Oz's Clubhouse on Saturday nights. And we were both talking about this, Muff Clark Kent, and just how great this figure is. The soft goods are amazing. His shoes, man, I don't know where he gets his shoes shined, but his shoes are nice. He comes with a couple different ties. He's got the little Daily Planet there to read. It's just a really great figure, and I love this shot. It's like I've seen a lot of like transition shots where he's opening up. You got this S, exposed, and ones where he's like holding his little briefcase and stuff. But just seeing him kind of sit around the house is not what I would expect, but it's super cool. And I love that you can kind of get him in this very relaxed pose, and the soft goods look great. The posing is amazing. It's just a great figure. And I love the whole setup that he's got. It gave me that like 1970s vibe of like being at my grandma's house or something. So, yeah, that's what I got for my first one.
I think this is really cool. I especially love the dinosaur feet wallpaper in the background.
Yeah.
I was looking at this and I was like, those are dinosaur feet. That's fun. This is really cool. The dio is really cool. It's just a fun shot. Yeah, like you said, they usually want to have him, turning into Superman or bursting into action, but just kind of this casual slice of life Clark Kent. I'm digging it.
Totally.
I'll agree with you guys. I saw this one this morning as well, and I'm waiting for my muff to get my hands on Monday. So, but this is a really fantastic shot, and like you said, Curtis, the theme, it just really harkens back to like what I've seen and feel with this character is that it harkens back to an earlier time in the comics, waiting for just to he's doing his day-to-day routine, then all of a sudden he hears something and he's instantly in action. Now I did also selected this one, the classic look. Have you seen the alternate?
Yeah,
clothing?
with the brown suit, and then he's got the black kind of recovery suit underneath. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, cool. The second one that I selected this week, this is Toy Goofing Gons on Instagram. It's our good friend Ryan Gonzalez, who I couldn't be happier for. Like, he loves to do photography. He does a great job, but he had kind of fallen off and just not, I guess had the motivation or whatever to do it, and hadn't really been doing a whole lot. And since the beginning of the year, he's just been putting out shot after shot after shot that are just great. It didn't hurt that he used one of my wife's capes in this, which, I've gotten, if I had not seen this on Instagram on my own, I would have known about it because I had so many people message me asking me about this cape, because he just did a great job of making it like kind of flowing in the wind and stuff. And it just looks awesome on this figure. So yeah, great job, Ryan. Keep it up.
As soon as I saw this, the duck head registered first, then Ryan's name, then your cape, because I saw the clasp, the knot, and I was like, man, this is just full of so much awesome people involved in this. I love that duck head. I painted one of those up last year. It's really fun, and seeing that paired on that body with your cape or Darla's cape, in this shot, this feels like one of those kind of scenes in a movie or a show where it's like overly dramatic and epic, but like in a funny way, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't mean, that's just the vibe I'm getting off of it. And I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I enjoy it just because as soon as you brought it up, something from like, DuckTales and everything, I just popped in my head, that music, and it just made me feel happy.
That's awesome.
The way that you put the angle, the detail, and the cape and everything else on it, he positioned this really well. I mean, it's one of those things like thematically you're waiting for him to say something with like some gravitas or something to whoever he's looking at.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's just been really doing a great job. He posted another one today with a custom that he got from LeBron that looked fantastic, and Jesse just read something in the comments that just made him lose it. Okay.
He like drops out of the trees, dramatic music, the wind blowing the cape and like rustling his feathers all, and he's like got that brood, and he's just like, you ducked with the wrong guy.
All right, guys. Jesse's in his own head tonight. All right. So this is one of
better in my head than someone else's.
First. Is this one of yours, Mike?
I believe so.
Okay. I couldn't remember who I started with first. All right, go ahead.
I really enjoy when people bring out cosmics. I think that it's one of those moments where people can really not only put themselves into a mindset of like, being off-world and just enjoying the unknown, but little instances like this where, he put like the little effect piece for the weapon and just the smoke. I really like it. It sets a really cool tone. He really has a nice composition in regards to just having the figure dead center and not having her. It's one of the things I struggle with at times, is keeping everything in focus that surrounds, not just in the center where everyone's eyes go. So it's a great looking photo in my opinion.
For sure. I love it. I think that's the ship in the background. I think that's the one from Detour. I'm working on one right now, and it looks like it's a little obscured by the fog and stuff, but I think that's what that is. but yeah, I love the like the rocks, the smoke, like the figure itself. Like this is just all cool, and just even that little like blast coming from the gun, or like the laser sight or whatever. I love that. So yeah, Jesse.
This is great. This immediately feels, epic, and I want to know what I want to watch this show, this movie, read this book, whatever it is. I just like the way they've. I don't know if it's just lighting or if they've repainted the body. It's really cool. I really like this look. It puts a really different spin on those Legion's parts. And yeah, it's like you said, it's just the way it's posed with the arm and all the elements. Like it just draws your eye constantly around all the different parts of the picture. It's really cool. This is awesome.
Yeah, beautiful work. I love the lighting, the colors, fantastic. And there was a couple this week from both of you guys that I wasn't following. So as I was loading the picture, I was like, oh, I got to follow that one. Oh, I got to follow this one. So, all right, Jesse.
So someone basically threatened Curtis and I with violence if we did not put this one in the show.
This is true.
Fortunately, I already planned on doing it. It just hadn't showed up on Instagram by the time they made that threat to where I could say no problem. This is our buddy in the chat here, Nathaniel Armstrong, Telltale Art Customs. He's got a wicked imagination. Like you said, Curtis is going to have him on his How'd You Do That in a couple weeks or at some point soon. But this is, I believe he was challenged to do the 7 Deadly Sins as Muppets or Sesame Street characters. Nate, if you're still watching, correct me. And I was like, that's such a twisted prompt and I love it. So here is Cookie Monster as Gluttony. And I mean, that's not even that much of a twist, but I concept wise, Cookie Monster as Gluttony isn't much of a twist, but what Nate did is amazing and disturbing, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, the part of the reason why I wanted to get Nate on to do that how they do that segment, it's that segment for me on the Art by Akerman channel, cheap plug, is about like talking to folks on stuff that they do that is unique, right? And trying to understand how they do it or what they do or why they do it. And yeah, like I said, getting to take a peek inside his brain, even if it's for a short period of time, I think will be quite the journey, because he sees things in a way that a lot of people don't, like in terms of parts use and things like that. Like he looks at it and we go, okay, well, that's a head. And he's like, well, is it, maybe it's a foot, maybe it's, like he just takes things and, he takes a horse body and turns it into an ogre with a bunch of like horse arms attached to one another and stuff. It's just wild. So this is, first of all, nightmare fuel, number one, and number two, just so unique. So yeah, great job, Nate.
I had to agree with both you guys. I mean, he started 2025 already ramped up to 10, and he's not slowing down by the way things look. It's an interesting concept, and who would have thought of mixing those two thematic, I guess, just concepts together? And he's knocked it out of the park in regards to a little bit of nightmare fuel, but you want to sit there and dissect the parts and pieces that he has put together here to create this figure.
Yeah.
Well,
it's crazy.
I will say this. I did have a different photo of his that I was going to do until we got threats about using this one. So if you're not following it, go check out Telltale Art Customs. He does amazing, like really creative way of making characters look like he has transformed. One of them was a transformer. It was Wind Charger was what I was going to put. So go look at that picture. It's awesome. The parts he uses to make it feel like Legions, but still very different. So yeah.
Well, and even just like the different, Easter eggs, attention to detail, things like that. Like there's another shot of this as you go through it where he's got a shield that he's painted up to look like a chocolate chip cookie. It's like, yeah, just fun stuff. Just having fun with this stuff. I mean, this is toys. We're supposed to have fun with this stuff, guys. And Nate's doing that, so that's great.
He said he hasn't been able to sleep since he started following him.
Next one's one of Mike's.
Yeah, Ian Saunders. I've been following him for a while. He actually was also doing a little bit of stuff on his YouTube channel with another toy photographer and actually bringing on guests and having them set up a scene and walking him through lighting, posing. I mean, and his overall theme for his photography is like a very noir style, which I love. And this one is no exception. I love just how the shadows are just wrapping around everything, and then Batman's just kind of slowly sinking in and out of those shadows. Just and how he has like the foreground off, blurred over, and just seeing coming in. To me, I'm like, again, it's one of those things like I see something, and if music pops in my head that goes with that, it automatically gets me more into that photo. So Ian's a fantastic guy. If you haven't followed him, he does so much amazing photography, especially with Mezco figures. It's just great. So
yeah, I love the tags on the wall and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if this is something that he made or bought. I know, when we had Sig on, that was something that he did a lot of. He did a lot of kind of dio tagging and things like that. It just, this totally screams like an abandoned building in Gotham. Like it just, even if Batman wasn't in this picture and you just saw like a shadow there or something, it would still scream Gotham. I love this. The whole setup. It's great. Jesse?
I don't really know what I can add to that. Yeah, this is, I think the only other character I could imagine in a shot like this is maybe Daredevil. But yeah, this shot is great. The way that figures pose, and the lighting, and like the beam of light coming in across the top, the left side there, like as it crosses the doorway, just like it feels. None of this feels like it's scaled for an action figure. Like it feels full. I've made a couple little trash bags for my dios before, and that, granted it's a little blurred out, but like that looks like an actual bag of trash, not a plastic bag that someone just tied up to try to pass it off as trash. If that makes sense. I'm trying to say it looks really good. The details are great, and the scale is awesome.
Yes, Jesse was not saying this looks like trash. Just to be clear. All right.
The trash looks like trash because it's supposed to.
Right. This one is one of Jesse's.
So this one, where'd it go? Is underrated _figs. I think, Curtis, I thought you shared them recently.
I believe. Oh, did I go? Wait, what happened? It switched pictures. Yeah, there we go.
Yep, there we go. So underrated _figs. This is, I'm not sure which figure that, it's Bebop. I'm not sure which version of him it is. But maybe it's those.
I think it's the Joy Toy, the smaller one.
Joy Toy.
Yeah. I don't know if he comes with that guitar or if that's something else, but that's what it looks like.
Which again, the scale of it, it's photographed in such a way, and the perspective on the background, it just really works. Like it feels like a bigger figure than it is. And that's props on the photography and just the details on the sculpt and everything. But I just really like this pose. I thought it was a fun shot. And he's got a couple other ones in this shot where he's like doing different poses, like down on his knees, doing the classic 80s rock. But this looked like he was in a band and he's going to attack me with some sort of musical energy out of his guitar or something. I don't know. I just thought it was really fun and a cool picture.
Well, I think that's what the difference said is perspective. If this is the Joyce toy, and I think someone's saying it's Rage toy, I'm not sure if that's 1/18 scale as well. Okay. Just the angle of this photographer took for the shot. It looks fun. That's the main thing. It's not generating the same thought like what you have with him from Turtles cartoons, comics, whatever, where he's just this bumbling guy. He's sitting here just having fun jamming out. So really cool.
I think those might be the same because Jin says he saw it in the Joy Toy product images, the guitar, and then Purple Gang says Rage Toys, not Bebop. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, cool figure. I you know, I am like this much of a turtle guy, like just enough that I can settle with just having the turtles. So I don't need stuff like this. But that being said, I always thought that this has been a cool character, and just this whole like street vibe, having him there with the guitar, the you know, you got the dumpster in the background, and just these like old beat up looking buildings, like just I don't know, it just looks super cool. I love it, and I love his shoes. I want to get those shoes. So all right, Mike, this is one of yours.
Yeah, to go with the kind of just the whole idea of fantasy and war fighting and stuff. I mean, this one just is really cool for me. I just recently got a King Conan, and I love that Mezco figure, and just the pose and the use of effects in this. I'm jealous. I'm trying to learn how to do that a lot better in Photoshop. But it all comes down to like it's showing motion, showing weight behind that swing, and it's just a really cool looking action shot.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was
trying to talk with my mic muted. Go ahead, Jesse.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the screen over here because it's bigger and I can see it. It like I feel like I'm getting drawn right into the action of this story. Like you can hear, like maybe the water dripping in the back of this ruined temple or building or whatever, and just whatever ambient noise, and then like the scuffle of the feet as this creature comes out and attacks Conan. Like it's such a great shot. Yeah, I'm never going to have the time or the energy to put into doing photography well. So I am just trying to really soak in everything that people put out there, and just enjoy it. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I think I don't have any of these Mezco Conans. I just have zero attachment to the character. I liked the Arnold movies back in the 80s, but never had any attachment to like the comic book or any of that. But the figures look cool, and we've definitely seen some great photography with it. And I think I've seen one from Manto Moro that was like after this, because I think it like the creature's like he felled the creature and he's like kind of standing on top of it or something. But he always does a great job with his photography. He includes a lot of like stuff, right? Like a lot of pieces from other toy lines and dio pieces and all this and that, but it all feels like it belongs there. Like it's all part of whatever, fight scene or whatever's going on. It doesn't feel cluttered to me. It just feels like, the right amount of stuff. So like the fact you got a little mouse there, like, I don't know, sniffing the skull in the front. Like it's just, I don't know, just cool stuff. Like little kind of things that the more you look at this picture, you find other things. You go, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. So yeah, good stuff. All right. Jesse.
All right. Sorry, I'm waiting for it to catch up on my other screen. So this shot just really caught my attention while I was scrolling the other day. The amazing Mercury. I'm assuming this is a NECA creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm not sure. Maybe I feel like I saw an older version of this figure years ago that had the woman in the swimsuit up front, but it just, the way it's lit and the cavern and everything, like whatever the dio or digi background on the screen or whatever is going on back there, just took you right into that movie from back. I just thought it was really cool, and the angle was fun. It's not quite straight vertical. It's just a little bit off. All right, someone else talk. I can't.
Yeah. Yep, that's all I see now. No, it's a great shot. I love the posing on the figure and the light coming from the background. This is just it's just very well done. It looks like it's right out of one of those early movies. Yeah, this is just really cool. Great job. So, Mike.
Great. I mean, NECA's been killing it with these Universal monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I like as you said with Conan, I don't have an attachment to these figures, but I know my co-host Dave, True Starscreamer, loves them. He's been collecting all of them, and just like this really sets an ominous theme, and like you said, it harkens back to the movies, like just the black and white movies, or they're slowly coming to Technicolor. I love the atmosphere, and how he utilizes the key light, but also bounces that just enough of that light back onto their faces, so like the features aren't completely lost, but there's just enough nuance in there. It's really technically well done.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And before I get completely lost in old Greg voice in my head, this is actually the Diamond Select creature from the Black Lagoon. I had to look it up.
And we've been, I don't know that we've been doing a great job of shouting out the Instagram handles either. This one is the Amazing Mercury. Make sure, folks, if you see anything cool and you're not following them, make sure you throw them a follow so that your feed can be that much cooler. So next from Mike.
This really struck me just because the Nosferatu movie has just been released here recently, and I still wanted to watch it, but this really kind of keeps my interest peaked into getting to the theater to see this. Count Warlock looks ominous as always, and I like how he's not completely taking the whole frame. I like how it's broadened out for that atmosphere. Just the look of it, that single candle lantern on the one side, it's just getting enough light over, and then you got the moon shining in behind him there. It's creepy, it's thematic, and I love looking at it.
Jesse?
I think this is great. It gives off just enough of that eerie, threatening vibe without being too in your face. I think the fact, like you said, that he's smaller in the frame and there's less going on in that room, that it does have like a more threatening feel to it than some other types of photos. And it's great. And yeah, I like the combo of the cool light coming from outside and the yellow light from the lantern. And just, again, I think the rats are stealing the show on this week's.
I know. Mike's got a theme going on here with mice and rats in the photos. So,
if anything else, we're known for rats here in Baltimore as well. So.
Yeah, I love how that one is like standing up on his back legs, like almost like he's, I don't know, looking to serve him or something. I don't know. It's interesting. Or like he's giving him food, or I don't know. But yeah, the lighting coming in, the way that it hits the table and hits just the side of his face, is perfect. I love this. Yeah, so great work. This is Lion Works on Instagram. So, all right, Jesse. Oh, actually, I think both of you guys picked this. So, yeah.
Oh, great.
Just FYI. Yeah. So whoever wants to go first.
Well, I'll throw this out real quick, and then I'll let Mike talk about it first. But this is Amusing King on Instagram, and I had to look at this a couple times because I've seen a lot of people, and I'm not dissing it. I've seen people doing like the AI enhancing or animating the action figures, which to a level is cool. But I had to look at this because the realistic hair and everything, I wasn't sure if this was AI enhanced. And I looked, there are behind the scenes shots in this post. So check out Amusing King. Mike, I'll let you go first with the rest of it then.
Well, the cool part is Amusing King or Matt Maldonado, he and I talk a lot. I was trying to get him onto Figure Reaction to talk about toy photography. He's one of the first ones that I started following first on YouTube with his behind the scenes shots and his tutorials on how to light and pose and everything. But then catching up with Instagram and keeping up with his photos. It's just, this figure in and of itself is amazing. And like you just said, Jesse, I looked at him like, is that really how detailed this figure is? And then that's the cool part about this and with toy photography. It made me want to look for the figure to see, what it looked like. And sure enough, I mean, the features are there. Matt's composition is always on point. And he just does enough post-processing where he doesn't have to, totally redo everything with it. He just does enough to enhance what he already puts into the shot. So kudos to Matt, and check out his YouTube channel. It's just, he does a lot of great stuff. He's a really cool guy. So,
all right, Jesse.
From the looks of it, I didn't look up what the figure was. It looks like it's a 1/6 scale figure, or a larger format figure.
I did look it up, and it said some sort of meta something, metaverse, I think.
6 inches.
Yeah.
It's what?
It is a 6-inch scale figure.
Oh, it is a 6-inch scale figure.
Yep, and that's another thing I was wondering too, if it was like a hot scale size. But
well, he says he got it from at Toy Metaverse. Says it's made by Hellcat Studios. So, but yeah, it doesn't say the scale, but I'll take Mike's word for it. This is 6.
TJ Williams coming awesome. With 1/12. So the fact that this is a 6-inch 1/12 scale figure makes it all the more amazing to me to get that level of detail and that realistic hair and everything on this, and the robes, the soft goods to look good. Now, granted, I believe a lot of people have been upping their soft goods games with their figures lately. Obviously, we're huge Legions fans, and the soft goods on stuff that C. Jessam does are amazing. Curtis Darla's capes are amazing, but in toys, now granted, this is a very special. It looks really good. It looks scaled appropriately to the figure, and the shot is amazing.
I think what's so impressive, just kind of go back to the first picture that I had with the Muff Toy Superman, and now this one, like, you're seeing these amazing toys, amazing soft goods come from companies that I mean, I've not heard of, and are definitely lesser known. Like, we're not talking like this is a Mezco figure, this is a Hot Toy figure. Like, these are coming from companies that are seemingly not, they're a little bit under the radar, I guess. So I don't know, just like the whole industry is stepping up its game, because like this robe, like the inner part and the outer part, and then the rooted hair, like the whole thing is just amazing. This is beautiful. So looks like it's out of a movie, like, for real. So
yeah, I thought someone had photoshopped or AI'd like Sir Ian McKellen's face onto this toy with that realistic hair and everything. So that's amazing.
Purple Gang says it's a $160 retail figure, sold out and going for more. So yeah. Whew. Looks nice.
I don't think I could spend that on a 6-inch figure.
All right. I believe this is Mike. Is that right?
Nope, this is me.
Nope, this is Jesse. Okay, I think you guys. Okay, spoiler alert. Hold on a second. Yeah, you guys both picked one from the same artist, so that's why I backed them together. Okay. So this is Jesse's. Yeah.
So this is Jeffrey Osman on Instagram. I mean, who doesn't love Snag? I think he's one of the best goblins that Four Horsemen have done for Mythic Legions. He's just got that classic look. I love it. Was one of the first figures that got my attention for Mythic Legions. I just love real simple shot. He's got his dagger. He's stealing, looks to be some sort of crown or something. And, he's just making his getaway. I just think it's a really, really clean, great shot.
Yeah, I mean, not only a great looking figure, and you're right, the kind of that classic goblin look and stuff, but just a great bio, and like he's just so much fun to put in the background of different shots, just being sneaky and stealing things and doing crazy things. You just pulled up a comment from Captain Firebeard Baker. Like he does great goblin stuff all the time, and I just love seeing just Snag just show up on something. Now obviously here he's the main focus of this shot, but it's just a great character, and this is awesome. Like he's definitely doing something he's not supposed to be right here. I don't think that what he's holding in his hand, I don't think that belongs to him, if I had to guess. So Mike,
this is great, just to see him, because this is one of the figures in Dork Lair's top 5 must-haves he started talking about, and between this and Swig, these two really epitomize the idea of like just the little sneakiness that runs through all of
like mischievous. Yeah.
Yes, and looking at Mythic overall, like all this might and majesty and fearsome hulking figures. You've got these little individuals that kind of go out, sneaking through and just creating all sorts of chaos.
Yeah. Totally agree. And then the next shot from the exact same Instagram, once again, Jeffrey Osman on Instagram. This one is by Mike, or from Mike.
Yep. And like I said, with my other shot that I had selected, I like Cosmics a lot. I like the kind of openness that this line kind of gives people. And this is just a really cool mashup. I mean, it seems to be just simply putting the head from the Legion's Con 2-pack for the experiment on there, but it really
and he swapped out the limbs for the Fisher Rice limbs. But yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
But it really highlights that awesome paint scheme from the pilot, that came along there. It's really cool. And again, it's a smart use of light. I really focus on that with the shots because that's something I've continued to kind of struggle with off and on. But just a really great figure, and Jeffrey is, if anything else, his shots are awesome across the board.
Yeah, I can tell you that tomorrow morning I'm making this character like right away because like that's just super cool. I love the way that he incorporated the Fisher Rice arms and legs with the red jet body to create this like red and black look on the body, which then ties in perfectly with that head. Man, I paint and I customize and I do all this stuff, but I take something from where it was and then I bring it to my vision. I don't have the like vision to just mix and match parts and do something like that. Like people that can just pop and swap and create something amazing without having to pick up a paintbrush. Just it's a skill set that I don't have. And I'm always amazed by it. Joe Suter obviously is one of the best in the industry. Dorklair does a great job in his videos. And I would put this right up there with anything those guys are doing. Like this is just a great use of color and parts. And then on top of that, you get this really cool shot of him, kind of sneakily walking up somewhere. I absolutely love this. And yeah, I'm building this first thing tomorrow morning. So Jesse.
I love this. I keep looking at it. It makes this figure look so much more threatening and ominous. Just the pose, that head, it's essentially a human head, but with the color, like that purple into the red on it, and just the black soft goods limbs on the replacing out the reds. It just really changes up the tone. Like this feels like one of those red jet pilots that maybe has been like in the outer circles of Cosmerium, like doing stuff without too much oversight for too long, and is not a very valued functioning member of society, if that
yeah,
like he's up to
I got that Robo Skull vehicle from Brett, and I think this might be the pilot for it. I've been waiting to like figure out like, okay, do I just use a regular red jet or do I come up with a custom or something? I think this is my pilot for that Robo Skull. Just super cool. Yeah, I mean, Rob says I'm taking this recipe too. I think everybody should. Like, this is this is awesome.
And then whatever, if you give him like a helmet that you could swap out, paint the skull on the visor or across the helmet.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I actually, I got to take a look. I may have some decals still because I was talking about this on OffWorld, but that RoboSkull comes with so many like the sticker decal. You remember like when like in the 80s and 90s, you buy vehicles had all those stickers and you had to like they had the indentations on the vehicle where the sticker goes. You had to get it exactly on there. That's what it's like on that thing. It was the most stressful thing I've done in the last like 10 years. But I think I've got a few extra decals that I didn't use, and that might be cool to do. So. But that is it for shelf selections, but not it for pictures yet. I do have 2 more pictures I want to show. On Friday, our good friend Len LaGuardia and his Lenerosity, he showed up on his little Friday conversation thing that he has, and he had a friend with him, had a certain one Mr. Emil Wickman, regular in the customizing studio. If you guys are ever interested in joining us in the studio, hit me up. But they're doing something cool for this year, and they trying to figure out like how to build some excitement and do something fun and just have some creativity and fun with making new sculpts for Wolf King. And so they came up with this idea where I think Lynn's just calling it the 12 for 25, where each month Emil is going to come up with a new sculpt, and it's specifically themed around a certain character, a certain figure from the Horsemen. So at the beginning of the month, Len will give him a certain figure and say, hey, this is the figure that's the theme for this month. And then Emil then has to sculpt a head that will create a new character for that figure. And so the one he gave him for this month was Dubon. And what Emil came with was this head, which is not on a Dubon, but it's this head that kind of has this scaly helmet thing with it. So they put it on a Ninian here, and then this is it on a Dubon. So my understanding, and Jesse, you may know more about this than I do, but my understanding is that obviously Emil's going to do more than just 12 sculpts this year, but for this series, it's going to be 12 of these, one each month, and it'll be available as a bundle pack to where you can get, like this one, you can get the Dubon and the head together, or it'll then go into the library and you can also just buy it from Wolf King as the individual head by itself. But obviously when you buy it as a bundle, you get a better deal. If you were wanted to get that figure anyways, or you needed an extra Dubon, you get the savings with those bundles, which Lynn does an amazing job with those bundles of just kind of partnering parts and figures together. And then you look at the bundle and you go, ooh, that would be kind of a cool figure to have in my collection. So I just thought this was really neat. I wanted to bring this up. We love Len, love Emil. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun this year, is just, watching what they come up with. So Jesse, any other, I know you kind of, got the insider scoop on some of this stuff with Wolf King. Anything else that you'd want to add on this?
I didn't know what I knew this project was coming. I was not part of the behind the scenes, so I didn't know what it was or what figure it was going for the first one until he announced it the other day. And I just think this is a great way to, especially if you're new to customizing, or new to collecting mythics and already customizing, you get a great full figure and this extra head. If you want to do it, or maybe you see this head and you're like, well, I want to put it on my Ninian or some other figure. But then you've got, I think it's a really great, like you said, it's a great bargain. It's a great deal. I think this head looks really cool. I like seeing it on the Dubon and what people might do, since this was what Emil came up with based on this. Like, I'm excited to see what the name and the story of it will be, if there is any sort of story with it. It's not part of, as far as I know, it's not part of God's Fire or any set thing, but just sometimes they'll put up a little bit of extra with the images. So yeah, you can get the pack where it's the complete figure, brand new, until they sell out with the head, or the head will be available and in the library going forward.
Joe's asking what weapons that he's holding.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh boy, this is like what are those green knights on the table? What green knights on the table? Is that what's going on here?
I mean, I will say I believe I have seen them. I don't know what the story behind them is. I'm sure they'll just be, I don't know if there'll be extras included in this, or if they're just going to be, 3D parts on the site. But yeah, they look like some new short swords or daggers.
Yep. Captain says gives him Mortal Kombat vibes. I can see that. I like that in that live stream, Emil said, that the easy thing would have been to do kind of another Ranger type head. Like it just is a natural build, and with the soft goods, like just looks kind of like a Ranger figure. but he wanted to challenge himself to do something different. And now it feels more like a rogue assassin kind of character, which is really cool. So I love that, you know, same body, same soft goods, same everything, but now you put that new head on him and it just feels totally different. So
I know, like for me, he's gonna be a shadow elf assassin in you know, Xylona Ranger disguise.
That's cool. I like it. Beautiful. All right. That is it for all the pictures that I have. So we're done with that now. Actually, sorry, I lied. Jordan did send me this real quick, which was it's the Joy Toy Bebop that we were looking at. So it looks like that is all, including the guitar and everything, is from that set. So just as an FYI. So, but now I'm done with pictures. I'm hands off. Like, I'm not touching anything. So, cool. So Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself and your Instagram and what do you do?
All right. Well, my name's Mike. I have a YouTube channel called Junkion Crafts and Builds, and the aforementioned Instagram. It's just something I started up last year, and I'm still kind of getting back into this whole idea of adult collecting, and really a strong passion into, again, touching back to some of the stuff I had when I was a kid, but also loving the new stuff that we see. You mentioned earlier, like the third-party items. This protector I'm really excited about. I picked up their Loki figure from the TV series, and it was amazing as well. But I started, just getting back into it, as some of the other people my age, when we had nothing else to do, and I started dabbling around, and I got back into adult collecting through Transformers.
Okay.
And it was one of those things which I'm very much one of those things. If there's something that interests me, I start jumping in all the way. Sometimes I don't think.
I know that. I know that feeling. Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened with Transformers. I saw there was a lot of third-party stuff, Masterpiece, and just how intricate it was compared to stuff I had when I was a kid.
Yep.
And started grabbing stuff left and right from that, and started getting into the various communities surrounding that line. And it was a different experience because, I started looking at stuff, but I had no one near me that I knew that was interested in this stuff.
Yeah.
So finding people hanging out, and the only thing I had done before was going to Comic-Cons, and that wasn't completely toy related, but it was just going to see the artists, creativity, and getting that feeling again of like, wow, this stuff is beautifully sculpted, it's intricate, and I have disposable income, so why not get into it?
Exactly.
So moved that started again 2020, 2021. Then towards that time frame, maybe like the honeymoon period ended, and I was starting to get tired of it because it was the same figures coming out just from a different company. Then I started getting back. That's when the classified started getting my attention, and I had always had an affinity. My collection was always mostly He-Man and G.I. Joe.
Okay.
And they would always fight with each other, fight against all the bad guys that I had with them as well. So I started leaning more and more into 1/12 scale. Again, it was less shelf space. The articulation was a little bit better. It was, for me, it was a little more durable. I didn't have to worry about scratching paint per se. So that's kind of where I got my feet wet into the whole idea of building up an action figure collection. And during that time, I was also watching diorama builders. I was like, by God, I'm gonna start figuring this stuff out as well. I want to get creative. I want to get all these paints and stuff. And sure enough, I both feet, jumped in. I got like XPS foam, and I was, here's hot. Someone said, "Hey, you need to get this foam cutter." Oh, shit, why not? Let's just get that. And it was tooling around with things, but it was always one of those like areas where like I'm looking at someone else's stuff, and then I look at mine. I'm like, I can see it, but what is it really? So it kind of slid off of that, but other than that, I just kept getting more and more figures until the summer of 23. I was renovating a house down in Virginia and tooling around on Amazon, and I had friends that had Mythic Legion stuff before. I was like, all right, that's really cool. It's like, is it like He-Man? And then I got the book, like something like He-Man.
Right.
Okay. So I took a dare and I went on Amazon because I didn't know where else to look. And I picked up my very first Legions, which was Lady Averona.
Nice. Good choice.
And came in, and I mean, just looking at her, I was like, holy crap, like this is what I've been missing. Regards just like the line. I was like, well, I wonder, this is a female body. I wonder what the male body looks like. Then I jumped both feet into this. And it was really a surreal experience. Like you started getting these figures, and like all of a sudden the idea is like, all right, well now if I want to try to build this, I need to put this together. And then I'm like, well, who takes really cool photos? Well, then I started again YouTube, following around other content creators, Dork Lair. Just it led me to Trevor's page, and then The Amazing. I was watching him, and I'm like, holy crap, like this is really cool. And then I find out everything's up around Jersey, so I'm like, well, crap, this is really close too.
Right.
So that led up
yeah,
to,
I mean, you're like right in that area where like you get to you have the ability to hit a bunch of shows that not a lot of us have that opportunity. Yeah.
Yes, it is a blessing, except for where my wallet comes into play.
Yeah, there you go.
But then 23 led into going to my first Legions Con. And that was it was overwhelming, to say the least, in a good way. And it also opened my eyes on how a group of individuals really walk in, and it's like you're going into their house and you're being welcomed in. And it really was really surreal, per se.
It's kind of like on Cheers when Norm walks in, right? Like, and everybody's like, Norm, right? It's like, and I don't know about you, but for me, it's like the only thing in my life that's ever been like that you walk in and there's actually a group of people that are super excited just to see you, Yeah.
And it's taken me a while to get that type of feeling outside of Legions. And that kind of goes into like the weekly podcast that I have with really my closest friends. It's T-Man 978, True Star Screamer, Parts Former. We also had one of the kind of the founder. Oh, T-Man's in. Hey, man.
Yeah, he wants his $5.
I'll give you have some figures, brother. We're good. But it took a while to get that type of closeness and familiarity, and that was Transformers and action figures. But it was different in a good way once I got in there, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know who to talk to. I just kind of drove up, showed up, and was like, well, I don't know how to interact with anyone. So before I left to come up here, I had purchased the Headless Horseman from Nerdzoic, and it had just came right before. And I brought it up, and I'm like, I don't know how can I get into knowing these individuals that I've watched online, and they're like, oh, well, check out Wolf King Customs website. I'll do that. And I'm like, holy crap, there's so many different things there to choose from. So what I did was I took this box and I walked around and I was like, hey, you don't know me, but this is my first Legions Con. Will you sign my box?
That's awesome.
And it was I felt really awkward at first. It was like, I'm this guy walking around like, hey, can you do this? But it helped me break my nervousness of being in an environment where like everyone else knows each other, but you're just kind of walking in, and it's kind of like you start going into your college, and you go to your first social event. You're kind of just along the walls, and feel everything. But this was so cool. Like everyone, like I talked to Jeremy. I'm like, hey, you son? He's like, oh, well, this is a great idea. What do you think about Legions Con and all this other stuff? And that's where just I was instantly comfortable.
Yeah, it opened the conversation door. So
absolutely,
yeah.
And it was just really amazing seeing like the true artistry within Legions in and of itself, and just it's not just the fact like, oh, well, this is the toy line, and I repeat it like you do, Curtis, like you do, Jesse, Emil, and everyone else. Like you create entirely new personas out of a bucket of parts, some paint and some time and some love, and you create something totally unique. I mean, it can literally be a 1-for-1 and never be recreated again in that same exact look. And that just enamored me even more. So it's like as soon as I left Legions Con, I was instantly like, all right, well, now I got to get ready for next year. And then that's where I had a chance. Thankfully, you guys were at the Toy Expo this past summer, and had a chance to really sit down and talk to you and look at your stuff, Jesse, and talk to Len and Nate, and just having a good time. And I'm thankful for that more than anything else. It really brightened up a lot of times where the times we may all face where you're sitting there and you're looking at all this stuff, you're like, well, why? What am I doing here? And it's a gateway to meeting people and in conversations. It is to me like it's an avenue for being social, something that I'm not really great. Like I'm not really a big people person, but seeing how the interaction and like the welcoming nature of most of like all the people there that we just kind of just within the channels that you guys are part of, Chris and George, just listening to their antics, it really kind of it brings mythos here in regards to like how familiar and how like even if you're new to it, it's not you are welcomed in. You're not sitting there like, oh, well, you're the new guy. Well, what do you know about this? What do you know about this? What do you think about this? And I didn't know anything other than like, I go to this webpage that says Source Horseman, and there's a whole list of stuff. And now it's like I'm itching at the bit for anything else that comes out. I mean, whether it's the book that we got coming through, last week with Eric Miller and the head packs and talking about that. I mean, it's just you want that continued dopamine hit, and it comes a lot easier through this community, this family, what I've ever experienced with Transformers. And I get it to the same level within like the action figures community, whether it's Joe's or Action Force or anything like that. But it's just a different feel for everything, and it's welcoming. So that's my ramble.
No, you're good. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was nervous to go to my first Legions Con, and then like you get there and you start talking to people, and it's just an amazing play. Like on top of all the talent and everything you're talking about, the painters, the photographers, the people that do dios, the people that do the pop and swaps, people that just pose figures in amazing ways. Like there's so many just talented people in the community, but it's also just a group of really nice, awesome people, you know, and having that group of people that you can hang out with. You know, I was having a rough week this week. I had, you know, just between work and travel and just different things. It was just not a good week. And Friday night we do a show OffWorld, and I didn't even want to do the show. I was just like, man, I just don't want to. I just not feeling up to it. I don't want to be there, right? And then like I get there and I'm hanging out with my friends and we're talking and we're laughing and we're having a good time. And all of a sudden it's like, you know what? This is exactly what I needed. And I needed to be around these folks. And, you know, today I'm sitting in the customizing studio and painting with folks online, and we're just having that fellowship. And like, you need that stuff. Like people are meant to be around other people. You're not meant to be secluded. And I know it's you know, Jesse and I have talked about mental health on this channel quite a bit, but you know, I think people have a tendency, especially guys, to, when things get rough or you're not feeling so hot or whatever, to kind of keep to ourselves. And, you know, I just don't want to be around anybody. I just need to be left alone. And I want to, you know, and that's, you know, in most cases, that's the opposite of what you need. Like, you need people, you need to be around people, you need to share, you need to, like, you have friends for a reason, and they can help you get out of a dark place. And I think that's a lot of what this community is about. It's about just folks being there for one another. And we're using this toy line to enjoy life in whatever form or fashion that is. It just brings a little bit of happiness, whether it's through the art of it, or just playing with the figures, or just the relationships that we've built because of them. It's just a way to help us enjoy life. So
I'll say this for both of you. Curtis, I know we talked about you being nervous about coming to the first Legions Con.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had not talked to me about that beforehand, I never would have known.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just had such a natural fit to it. Now, I don't see what's going on in your brain. I'm sure there was stuff going on where you were making yourself do things. I know that's how that stuff works. And Mike, same with you. When I met you, I don't remember if we met at Legions Con 23. I know we definitely met at Baltimore, or at the Maryland Toy Expo. We talked, because that's, so I apologize because like you said, Legions Con's so overwhelming. So unless there's some really strong connection of some in my brain,
Absolutely.
stuff slips by. But I wouldn't have known that about you. Like, you seemed so at ease, you know, like around the toy show, and then talking to us about, you know, the little interviews you did and everything. That I was like, when I saw your video go up, I was like bumping Len. I was like, you gotta check this out. You know, this was one of the guys that was there at the beginning of the day. And, you know, it was just, so all that to say, not that you guys aren't dealing with stuff, because I know, you know, internally we deal with stuff, but like from the outward perspective, I wouldn't have known that about either of you guys going into it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I didn't go to 21 Legions Con, right? And then I went, because I've been 3 years now. So when I went to 22, I bet on the outside I probably looked like I was, you know, everything was fine and I was calm, cool, collected. Inside, like, my brain was like, I was like, should I go over and talk to these people? Or go. And then when I would go over there, it's like, do I, you know, am I bothering them by being part of this conversation? Am I talking too long? Are those people over there expecting me to talk to them? Should I leave this group to go talk to those people because I've ignored those people? And if I leave and go talk to those people to make them happy, am I going to upset these people here? It is, you know, so inside of my brain, it was complete turmoil. But, you know, you're also around all these people that just make you feel welcome and like everything's okay. And I had multiple people that knew that I skipped the year before because I was nervous and had the, you know, panic attacks and stuff, that would just check on me throughout and just like, hey, how you doing? You all right? You need to go for a walk? You know, like just things like that. And that's just, you know, that's just how great this community is. It really is something special. So
it is. And to kind of piggyback what you just said, Jesse, when I was talking to you, Len and Nate, I was absolutely stressed the F out, because I was the same things popped in my head that you just mentioned, Curtis. I'm like, all right, I know these guys. It's early in the morning. There's a little bit of a lull, which was one of those minute second things, because you guys were busy the entire day that I was there. That table never slowed down. But it was one of those like, all right, well, these guys have been, what questions can I ask that they haven't been asked like 100 times, 50 times? But I think that's one of the things that has helped me not only feel more comfortable talking at conventions and individuals that, have their channels, their 1,000 subscribers, they work all this stuff, but reaching out to talk to people in the industry. One of the things that we have on the podcast that True Star Screamer, who's actually in the chat now, we kind of reinvigorated a period inside the podcast about just interviewing. And the first group we had on that I felt comfortable reaching out to, and they responded back positively, was Marco and Jeremy from Meta Travelers. When their Kickstarter came up, it was a chance to sit down and talk to them. And I was sitting there for like 2 weeks before we doing it, and just like, all right, well, what do I ask? What do we do this? And thankfully, Dave and Matt were like, all right, Dave was one of those, just put together a slideshow, let's figure it out. And then that's when it was fun. I was like, all right, well, now I want to create like a little trailer. Maybe this will be something fun for them to see. And whether it worked, I'll know. But from there, it made things so much easier reaching out to other individuals. We talked to the guys from Bureau Realm. Excuse me. We had Quentin J. Bedwell, he's an amazing comic book writer and artist, and he's actually done a lot of the artwork for Valor versus Action Force Series 4 and Series 5. And just a fun guy to hang out with. And then we had Jared Sir Dork on. So it all started, from from walking around the big box to getting more and more comfortable. So now it's like, every show that we kind of do and have a chance to sit down, it's more something like this, where like I don't feel like I had to pre-stage a bunch of questions. Yeah. I just want to have the conversation, and then it'll start coming natural about asking about stuff. So
I'll tell you, like Jesse and I, a lot of people are surprised when they come on with Jesse and I that like we have nothing prepared. Like other shelf selections is the most work that we do. One of us, typically it's Jesse sends me his picks, I put them together in a slideshow. And then after the show's over, the next day or two, Jesse will make an Instagram post, kind of highlighting who we had on as a guest, who's coming up the next week, and any of the shelf selections we have. But that's it. Like, we have no prepared questions. We have we're just here having a conversation and talking. It's like if there's the three of us, we're just sitting around having a beer, and it just so happens that all these other people are watching. They're the creepers, really, when you think about it. The people in the chat.
Well, and that, for me, that was the whole concept of doing the show, because I was like, I want to do this show. I want to get to talk to people. I didn't even think it would get here. I didn't think I would have a co-host and that we'd be on season 4. I didn't think it would last that long, because I've tried to do different things before and it just never took off. I found the right group, like you were talking about. You found the right group of people. You felt welcomed in. But like I didn't want it to become something where I had to prep a lot for, because I'm like, I don't want it to become work.
Right.
Like I just want to, like Curtis, I just want to sit down and have a conversation. I mean, that's why it's shooting the shelf. It's like shooting the shit. We're just sitting down, and there just happens to be cameras on, and we're doing it live. I would enjoy this conversation just as much if it was just the three of us on a, I don't know, was a Zoom call? Is that still a thing? Or whatever? Or if we were sitting down, in the lobby of the hotel or whatever. The cool thing is we get to have all these other people who then get to share it with us in the chat. And that's really cool. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the cool part is, like, my excitement and everything kind of has bled over. One of the things we're hoping, and I say we in regards to Dave and I, we're hoping it's like to reciprocate the awesomeness of allowing me to sit here with you guys and have you join us on a show
Absolutely.
upcoming here, because Dave is newly he's dipping his toes into Mythics now. He's got a couple figures. He got a big order in from this last in stock, so I think he's going to have a lot of questions and just comments on what he feels with things. So it'd be a great.
Well, I'll tell you that the next YouTube show invite that I turn down will be my first. So I've had several people ask me to be on their shows, and I've never once turned them down. So you got a pretty good shot. Just saying. Jesse,
and I wanted to throw this out there for Dave and for anyone else watching this or replay down the road or whatever, especially if you see. I can speak for Wolf King because I'm part of Wolf King, but I'm pretty sure this goes. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Horsemen, but just knowing them and how welcoming they are. You talked about coming into Legion's Con, like coming into someone's home. Curtis has said many times that's what it's like going to intern for a day. Highest point of that's like I don't know. I don't know what compare. This is a sidetrack. All that to say. We like, at least at Wolf King, we like the questions. Like when we go to those shows, we like seeing all the faces we know, but we know why they're there. We can catch up. If we don't get to talk to them that time, we know we'll see them in a couple months at the next show. The thing that gets us all super excited when there's new people. I mean, I don't want to sound, this is going to sound creepy. It's not like we're missionaries, proselytizing, but in a way it kind of feels like that way when we get to someone like, oh, this person, they've always been watching Mythic Legions or Cosmic from the background. They got their first figure. I got to show them how they pop and stuff. Like we love that. It's one, I mean, especially with Wolf King, because it goes so hand in hand with, the custom parts, swapping all that around. And I know the people at the studio are passionate about what they do, so I don't think they mind answering those questions, over and over, because it seems like everyone that works there genuinely loves what they do, or enjoy it enough that sort of stuff doesn't bother them. Otherwise, the people from the studio wouldn't come hang out at the shows, because like how many other companies do that? I mean, smaller ones are doing it. It's becoming more of a common thing with the smaller lines and stuff, but like where we've had Jim, Eric, and Cornboy on here at different points.
Yeah.
And granted, there's anywhere from 10 to 50 people watching. No, I'm not going to admit that, Dave.
I was just going to say, like, I mentioned earlier today to somebody that I think that I like MesquiCon more than I like Legion's Con, and that is a compliment to MesquiCon, not a shot at Legion's Con. And it's just because as great as Legion's Con is, I feel like the good parts of Legion's Con I get at MesquiCon, but I also get time, and like it's slower, like it's not so fast paced, it's not so crowded, and so you have time to just talk to somebody and really spend time with them, so you get to know somebody, like kind of like Jesse was saying earlier, like you may talk to 1,000 people at Legion's Con, but how many of those do you actually like remember the conversation stuff? It's just so fast, it's a whirlwind. But you go to like some of these slower shows, or where it's less people, and you guys go to dinner together and you do the mythic meetup type of thing, and that's when you really get to know each other and talk to one another and learn who people are, and it's just a lot of fun, man. I really enjoyed that part of it. So I would say anybody out there, and I know like there's a lot of folks that there's just not any shows that are close to them. If there's even one, I don't care if it's a big show, a small show. I think that they all have their merit. I mean, yeah, a big show, you go to like a Kane County and you're going to see just a crap ton of stuff. Like you're just going to be like any kind of a toy that you can imagine, you're going to find at Kane County. But you may not be able to just actually interact with people for, lengths of time. But you go to a small show and it's more intimate and you're able to do that kind of stuff. There's some benefit to that as well. So I would say if there's a show anywhere close to you, you should definitely go, because there's it's fun. So
absolutely, and I think that's part of the fun that sitting there going at the Maryland Toy Expo and just getting a chance to really talk to you guys and just see what's, because I have picked up some heads and other pieces from Len and Jesse, and I will fully admit I haven't really done anything with it because I'm scared. I'm nervous about screwing it up, and that's let me hold my beer and I'll find a way.
You can make a mistake, but the nice thing with painting, especially if you're starting with 3D parts, at least with Wolf King, you can almost get another one. Which, granted, you're out the money and the time and stuff, but like it's not an irreplaceable part.
I did a whole video on this like not too long ago where it was like, we don't make mistakes, we make learning opportunities. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna challenge you, Mike. Join in if you're available. Join in the customizing studio on a Sunday.
Okay.
It's just like this with a couple dozen people on a phone or your tablet or whatever you have access to. And you're just painting. Sometimes, like Curtis said, sometimes people working on dios, sometimes people working on artwork, like other artwork. A lot of people are painting figures. Just jump in. I mean, the biggest mistake you're going to make, if it's something you want to do, is not doing it. Because like, I don't know how many times I've been doing an eye, and I'm like, oh, this looks really good. And then I sneeze, or like my hand fingers tense up and I smear it. And I'm like, well, I got to take it all the way back down to the base skin tone and redo it. And I just set it aside, calm down, do something that's a little less, and then come back to it later. Like it,
Jesse.
That's what I've done in the past. And sometimes it just takes forever to get back to that.
Jesse, that fucking meep that I was working on, man. I tell you what, I twice I dropped it into my wet palette right into the paints that I was using. Like just completely dropped it. And then I had to like scrub it all off and kind of start. Twice I did that, and yeah, I mean it sucks, but it's part of the process. Yeah. Anyway, but I hear you. We don't make mistakes; we make learning opportunities.
So with both you guys, your skill sets. I mean, have you always been like painters or I hate saying customizers, but creatives, or was it just when you got into like the Mythic toy line? You started getting more like your creative side showing out, I guess.
You want to go first, Jesse, or you want me to?
No, you go ahead.
So for me, I was never like an artistic kid growing up. Like I didn't draw. I didn't do like all the sketching in my notebooks and all that kind of stuff like kids do. Never really painted or anything. But I did like to create, but my creating was like mostly I would play video games, and I would get the wrestling games, right? And the wrestling games always had like a creator wrestler mode where you could actually put together your own wrestler, and you could like put their gear together and their head, and you could change the shape of their nose and their ears and all this kind of stuff. And I would just mess around with that creator wrestler, and I wouldn't even play the game. Like I would not wrestle, and I would wait for when the new one came out, I would get the new game without having even wrestled a match on the old game, just because I wanted to see what new options they had for faces and all this kind of stuff. And so that I would do that. And then when, the way that I got into this was, I hadn't collected toys for years and stuff. And then I saw some old He-Man figures at a flea market, and I picked some up because they were like really cheap and stuff. And it was just a nostalgic kind of thing. And when I did that, a lot of them were just beat up and had a lot of paint chipped off and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just get, a few paints and just kind of touch these up, like restore them, like bring them back to their former glory kind of thing. And then it was through that I got involved in the Motu community. And then through that, I found out about the Horsemen and Mythic Legions. And then it was, off to the races. But never before this was I, painting or drawing or any of that kind of stuff. So that's all, within the last 5 years. So
do you remember the first Horseman item that you ever started painting or customizing?
Yeah. The first one I worked on was a Cavern Dwarf.
Okay.
And it was one, like when I got into the line, there were no pre-orders or open. The Alithia had just ended. I did get in on the video game. It wasn't even War of the Aether Blade then. It was God, I can't remember. Oh, Tactics. Mythic Legion's Tactics is what they were calling it at that time. So I ordered some orcs and elves and stuff, but there was nothing else going. So I just grabbed some figures off of Big Bad Toy Store, and one of them was a Cavern Dwarf. And I got it, and I'm like, man, this guy's just plain. Like he doesn't have a face. It's just a beard coming out of a helmet, and it's all the same color. And I'm like, I got to do something on this thing. Like this is just, it's just boring. And so I just started painting some of the trim. Like they've got like on the older armor and stuff, it has like the trim on the torso and the gauntlets and stuff like that. And I just did that. Just like painted some silver down the middle and then like some black on the outsides or something. And it like that alone just completely changed the look of that figure. And I'm like, it's so easy because they've got the sculptural detail there. You're basically like, it's like coloring inside the lines, right? It's like a coloring book where they already made the places that you're supposed to color, and you just got to stay inside the lines. So like this strip right here, I'm going to paint one color, and that strip over there, I'm going to paint this other color. And then boom, now this thing looks completely different. So yeah, that was my first one. And then it was like, okay, now I could do whatever. So Jesse.
Excellent. What about you?
I'm kind of the complete opposite. I've been doodling, sketching, creating since like I could pick stuff up to manipulate. Not necessarily saying that I was good at it, but it was what I did. Whenever I got to like middle school and high school, and I started putting like the brown paper bags from the grocery store as book covers, I was doodling all over those, my notebooks. Go to church on Sunday, I'm doodling on the little notepad or, whatever piece of paper I've got in my Bible or whatever, taking Legos apart, like popping the arms and stuff apart on the figures, which you could do, but I always felt like it was wrong to do it. But I'm like, well, no, this guy needs to have blue arms on this red knight torso because, it's not all whatever. As far as painting figures, I had gotten into painting minis, D&D minis, about 10, 11 years ago when I started playing D&D. So I was doing that. And then I don't know if it was before or during COVID, I started customizing some figures, Marvel Legends. Like there were certain characters I'm like, well, they're never going to make, the White Queen from the Hellfire Club in her traditional outfit with the way toy lines are going these days. I was wrong. They eventually did, but I was like, I made my own. And Curtis always cracks up at this. I actually used an old sock for her cape because it was like an ankle sock.
It actually
but it
looks
had like
pretty good.
It had like that the rib around the at the top of the ankle. The way I cut it and like stitched it around her arms and stuff, it looked kind of like that fur-lined cloak. From a distance up on a shelf, it looked good. Up close, it's like, oh yeah, that was a sock. A couple other figures like that, and then I had some plans for some Star Wars ones. And then, as soon as I found a 3D printed head, it's in the pipeline that this figure's coming out down the road, or this one's coming out. So I kind of just stopped. And then in 21, for a while I'd been seeing Legions on the Big Bad Toy Store, but I didn't really know what they were. I wasn't in any. I was barely on Facebook at that point. And between my buddy Sean, who also got some around the same time, and then a coworker, Douglas Tupper, I don't know if he's watching, but he's sometimes in here at the comic shop. He was getting into Legions and starting to do customs, or had been. And so I learned about some of that stuff that way. And then I went to that first Legions con I went to in 2021 in the Wayne Powell Center. And I was just like, I need to be a part of this. Like by the time we left the convention, like I was trying to join the cabal, and Sean's driving back, and I'm like opening the couple of figures I'd gotten in the car and like dropping the wire twisties in the car, and it took me a couple months, but eventually I got all my paints out, and I haven't put my paints away since. Like I totally transformed my art desk. And as far as the first figures, I know I did a dwarf a couple of skeletons and something. I did like 4 or 5 figures like at the same time when I started. When I started painting the mythic figures and stuff. And like Curtis said, I just kind of started doing details. And I started right with a dwarf face. So like I did the thing everybody tells you not to do, is like I started with flesh tones and eyes. And I feel like I've improved since then, a little bit, but yeah, I just jumped right in and did the whole gambit right up front.
Yeah. So by doing this, and then you guys expanding out into this social media environment, do you ever take a moment to step back and say, like, all the people that come up and thank you guys or just see everything, and this is not a gushing moment here, but just a bit of realism, like, you guys have helped so many people just not only enjoy a toy or a toy line, but also find a way to see a new part of themselves. Like I'll tell you, like I said, I was grabbing all this stuff when I started, but it's like anything else. There was like full force, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, well now something else has come up, and it's for me, my distraction levels go crazy. But one of the things that kind of helped steer me back into this is just like the stability, the consistency, and the openness that you find, again, whether it's in person or through the internet, like this. I mean, so you guys take a step back and say, like, when I walk into a room, people are like, "Oh, it's you, you did this." I mean, how does that make you feel?
So for me, I didn't feel that way until last year at MuskeeCon. And I had a friend of mine, now friend of mine, we barely knew each other at the time, but had come up to me after the show. It was actually after the Mythic meetup, because the Mythic meetup is on Friday, show's on Saturday, and pulled me aside and was just like, I just want to let you know, like, how much you mean to this community and to myself and a lot of others. And just the energy and the passion and the care that you have for this community and for people. And I was just like blown away. I was like, I didn't even know that even one person saw me that way. So it was, yeah, that kind of caught me off guard. And then, really the other channel that I recently started, like that's what that's about, is just like trying to help people. Like, we do that customizing studio, and we've got a chat group for that. And, a friend of ours, Brendan Higgins, was in there, and he was talking about how, like, new folks in this community don't know where to find these resources. Like maybe there's a video over on the Wolf King channel that tells you how to do this. And there's some people did some tutorials on this Instagram that tell you how to do that. And there's something over on Jeremy's channel that's buried behind, 3 years of live shows that he did. But there's not like a one place that you can go to. It's very hard just getting into this and knowing where the resources are. And so that's what I was trying to do with my channel, is just like, how can I put all this stuff in one place where it's all about customizing? I can have people on that talk about, what they do, their specialty within this community, and share some tips and tricks, and, recommend supplies and do things like that. And it's about giving back. Like, I feel so fortunate to be in this community. I feel like whatever this community is giving you, you need to work hard to give that much back or more. And so that's what I always try to do. But it didn't hit me like what you're saying until last year. And it's important. Like, it's something that I don't take for granted. Like, I really want to make sure that, I act as a good steward of the community for that. So.
I remember was it the fall of 22? So I had been collecting just about a year. This show was a couple months old. I was, I hadn't even been in the community a year, with the Facebook and all that stuff. And I remember my buddy Sean and I went to RetroCon, and we'd already gotten our passes. So we were walking into the entrance. So we were just picking up. Everybody else in the line was buying their tickets. And I hear someone go, "Hey, it's that Jesse guy from Just Shelve It." And I was like, "What?" And I turn around and I didn't know who said it. And then I see this guy waving at me, and I had only seen him online, and he wasn't wearing his suit and tie. So I didn't recognize him at first. It was Jonathan Donath, Hedgehog Action. And that, it never occurred to me that someone I didn't know personally would like call me out as I'm walking by. Like that was weird. And to this day, if anything like that happens, I still feel as awkward and like, why do these people know my name? Like, you know, it's just, it's like, I know, I mean, in my brain, it's like, I know there's the show and there's that sort of stuff, but like, it's just like, it's a little surreal. You know, cause I think we keep, I feel like we're generally pretty humble about all this. Like, yeah, we have our show and we have our moments and like the persona stuff when that comes up, but like, we're just two dudes who love toys that hang out with each other on Sunday night and talk to other people. It's, you know, it's just really cool that, you know, getting like Curtis is talking about mental health stuff. Like that's a huge thing. Like I love, like, that's one of the things that we connected on initially. Was I think I got to talk with Jeremy when I was on his show when I first was getting into all this stuff, and Curtis reached out and we started talking about that stuff. And you know, if all the customs get forgotten, if the dios and all like the creative stuff gets forgotten, but you know, they don't even have to remember it was from us. But if people get to talk about like their mental health and it helps make their life better, like to me, that's worth everything.
Yeah. I mean, that, you know, Kirby pulling me aside at MesquiCon last year, you know, it just meant the world to me. And like, can you do that for somebody else? Can you show that, like, you know, it's one thing to appreciate somebody and to, you know, value their worth to the community in that, but have you let them know? Have you reached out to them and let them know how important that they are? Because I mean, man, you could change somebody's world. You could change somebody's entire world with one, you know, one conversation. So yeah, I mean, like I said, are you putting in what you're getting back from the community or more? I do see Eric just joined the chat super late, but hey guys, Eric, congratulations. Awesome reveal this week.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah, just super cool stuff. You know, there was a conversation today on the New to Mythics about your work. Just fantastic work. And it's so cool to see the horsemen making dreams come true. Like, you know, over the past few years, I've got to see, you know, Jeremy, you know, quit his other job and be able to work for the horsemen full time and kind of live that dream. I've seen Joe Vassapolo be able to like make a figure for his son. You know, David Williams getting a figure that he made as a custom, you know, as part of the line, and now this with Eric. It's just super cool to see a toy line that cares that much about people and that you know, wants to make their dreams come true. So yeah, awesome work, Eric. Great work. Keep it up. So
absolutely. I mean, a lot of stuff you both said really resonates. Specifically, like, you know, the later half of last year, I will fully admit, like after Legion's Con, I kind of just had to take a pause for things. It was one of those moments where there was so much going on. Like I said, we're selling a property. There was the holidays. We had new family kind of moving in with us, so to speak, and there was a lot of stuff going on that it made doing stuff online unimportant. But one of the things that I valued during that time was, you know, a group of friends, like I said, between Dave and, you know, other people that were just reaching out, like, hey, how's things going? How was your work day? And I'm like, that was kind of like a little bit of an anchor or compass, so to speak, to make sure that I didn't go off and just do what I have done in the past between my time in the military and everything else. Was just like, if there was something bugging me, I dealt with it myself, and that means going away, keep people at a distance, and that's not a way to do things now. And it's one of the things I'll say. I'm happy that older dogs start learning new tricks.
Yep.
And that's because you're in the pound with everyone else, so to speak. So it was really cool, and to go with I had my own little thing, like you just mentioned, Jesse, where, like, someone came out of nowhere and said, "Hey, it's you." That Legion's Con 23. That's where I met KJ Smith and his son, because I was walking along looking at stuff, and next thing you know, I got a tap on the shoulder, and he's like, "You're Junkion, right?" I'm like, "Who are you?" That's my this dramatic part to go on with it. I just need a little bit of music to go with it. But it was one of those moments like, oh crap. He's like, "Yeah, I see that, you're in the figure action and all this stuff." It's like, well, dude, thank you for, saying hi and introducing me to his son, and like, "Hey, what do you think about Legion's Con and everything?" And it was just one of those moments like, wow, this is different from like any convention I went to, or just rolling to a Comic-Con where it's just like everyone's kind of, cowpath their way around the aisles and grabbing stuff as they go. So it's really really neat.
That's another thing that's different about like a Mythic Legion convention event, not just Legion's Con, but any kind of where Mythic Legion's at, and other toy shows. Like, I've been to other toy shows where you go in, you make a path around the place. Maybe you go back to a table or two that you kind of said, I'll walk the rest of the place. If I don't find a better price, I'll go back to this table. You may go back to that one, and then you leave. Like, you may be in and out of there within an hour or so. Whereas at a Legion's event, it's just kind of a hangout. Like, you're there. Like, if the con is 9 to 5, well, you're going to be there 9 to 5. Like, it's not like you're not cruising the tables and then heading out. Like, you're just hanging out because that's where your friends are. So
yeah, but that's exactly kind of how it feels with things. But
yeah.
So, Curtis, I see a bunch of different things behind you there. If there was ever a time where you had to stop with Legions, what else on behind you in your collection just is something you would keep collecting?
I'm a huge DC fanboy from a kid, so mostly Batman and Superman. I went through a certain age when I was younger where it was all about Superman, and then when I got older and cooler, and then I was like, nah, Batman's cooler. Like, he punches people, and he's dark and broody. But yeah, I mean, just that would probably continue. I love that stuff. But yeah, this is definitely, I mean, Legions is always number one. So
excellent. Jesse, if you had to give up Legions and that, what would be what would fill that gap?
Man, if I don't know. I pretty much
stuff. Jesse's room is full of a lot, like just stuff here and there. Like, he'll have like a character from a line or something, and then like he's got a lot.
I have 3 characters I do that for, and that's Rogue, Raphael, and Ahsoka. They have like dedicated shelves that's just them, or 1 or 2 maybe tangential characters that just look really cool from a certain line or something. I don't, if I stopped collecting Legions, I don't know what else I would replace it with. I mean, unless I'm getting Rouge? Yeah, Rouge. I want to back this up. Now, where was that on? What was that on? Oh, that was on
Lynn's show. Yeah.
I remember saying it wrong, and Sean quickly corrected me. Otherwise, I probably would have said it for the longest time. But I did say this to Len. I remember when Sean and I became friends, and I signed his yearbook. We signed him like as the Turtles. He was Leo and I was Raph. I knew there was an L in Raphael. but for some reason I spelled Ralph in his yearbook. So it's like,
that's funny.
So no, if I stop collecting Legions, unless I got rid of them, I don't know what else I would replace the new collection with. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd either be Glyos or Lego, I guess, if I had to switch to something else.
Okay, so give me your sales pitch on Glyos, because I saw the booze this past Legion's Con, but I know nothing about it. So
there you
go. Yeah. So I've been rearranging all this stuff. Curtis was here real quick after Legion's Con. I redid all the displays over my TV, and I have like 2 massive piles of figures and pops that I'm getting rid of. You would not know I got rid of anything, Curtis. Just the way the shelves are still.
You know what that means? It means I got to come back and visit next year.
Well, yeah, you're welcome anytime. All that to say, I just moved my Glyos around to a different shelf, so I don't have them in hand to grab them. So I'll say this about Glyos, and this, I am amateur everything about Glyos. I know very little. I got the first one I got was the orange and purple version of the skeleton Curtis just put up, because that was a George Gaspar one. I'm like, hey, first Glyos I'm going to get is a Gaspar, a George figure. So sales pitch, they're completely interchangeable across so it's tons of different companies that all make it. They all agreed to a specific size joint system, and they can pop and swap between all the different lines. So you can have that skeleton, you can take his arms off and put it on like the little tiny guy, and you can just, it's one of those things kind of like Lego, where you can just mix and match and come up with all your own creations. There's so many different companies. They're very limited runs, just because they're there's so many. They make them, they turn around, they put them out. And then they might do a different color of it down the road, but like that particular version might never come around again. So there's a collectability to them in the rareness. They're a lot of fun. They're all sorts of different shapes and sizes as they are. And it's like the Legions community, where the guys and the folks that do these companies, they're all pretty interactive with each other and with their communities and stuff. And it's a very similar, to the point where Mythic Legions was going to be built on a Glyos system initially. So that they're a lot of fun, and they sometimes do colorways that are kind of not necessarily, I don't know if they call them tributes, but kind of like nods to classic characters. So there's some little guys that kind of have color patterns that are similar to Starscream, if Starscream was in that shape, or whatever other character you can think of.
Yeah, I think I've only got a couple. I've got like 3 or 4 Glyos. Not huge into it, but I think the thing that's most appealing about it is that it's all pretty much artist led. Like it, the people that are doing this, like they're people like you and me and Jesse, like they're just regular people that love toys and want to create stuff. And so to me, that's the most intriguing part about it, is this isn't Hasbro or Mattel. Like this is people just, they've got a cool idea in their head and they want to make it a reality, and supporting people like that is super cool.
And I'll say this real quick, going back to doodling in the notebooks and your brown paper bag book covers. Some of this stuff reminds me, not necessarily of what I did, but I've seen people do, like doodle these just weird little squat little creatures with like, grippy claw and like a cannon arm or whatever. Like it's literally just whatever these guys think of. Like Chris said, artist led. It's not trying to be the next Superman or the next Spider-Man. It's just these guys doing their own thing. And it's, it's a big community, but it's not like an industry, like it's not this big corporate machine.
I want to comment on something that I've learned through my time getting into Legions, is that Legion fans have their own language. And I don't know if you've caught it, and I'm sure people have brought it up in other videos, but it's something I actually had to figure out and learn. Was like, you're instantly saying pop and swap, and this is a tribute figure for this, and just like commonality. That's something that I don't know if many people really catch on, or for something that just naturally comes into it. But like, there's a lot of things that I was explaining to a friend who was like me. He started looking at Legions, and he was like, I love Ethereon. I love the Templars, and he just went all out and buying stuff. And he's like, well, what do they say, like this pop and swap? Like he had one, and like the arm popped off, and he was freaking out. He's like, oh my god, what is this? What did I just break this figure that was X amount of dollars? I'm like, no, man, it's just pop and swapping. He's like, the what? Like, oh, like, it's like these figures are they're customizable and all. And I went through it, and I'm sitting there like, holy crap! Like, I just remember a few months ago, I didn't know what the hell that meant either. So it's another fun little. It's anecdotal at this point, but like, just really, when you're coming into something new and learning ins and outs and everything, and go into these conversations or watch streams, and like, again, they're all talking back and forth like, oh well, this is what happened. Akerman with his painted nail. What is that? Like, what does that mean? And then you're like, oh well, he's that's his that's his second palette right there, besides the texture in the wet palette. And then he's like watching Jeremy talking about things, and like his this library of knowledge he has in his head. It was something cool that just popped in my head when you were explaining the Gladys figures in the line. So
I'll throw this out there. It was definitely a lot to learn when I got into it. Like I didn't know pop. I kept calling it kind of like Lego, because like I was saying earlier, I would pull the arms off the Lego. I would take the legs off the waist piece. That was the closest thing I could relate it to. And then eventually in the community, I learned the pop and swap term. So that came in. But I did the same thing when I was, collecting Marvel Legends and started, customizing those. I'd never heard the term like buck for the figure build before, or, kit bashing. They're like, oh, you kit bashed that. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, so it's like what they did on Star Wars when they took all the models and made the Death Star. And I was like, well, that's maybe where it came from, but it's also, just swapping parts around on figures. And, so it's, but Legions are complicated, especially when you get into, I think, version 2, 2.0, 3.0, brute scale, dwarf scale, 2.0 elf versus 2.0 goblin. Like it's all secondhand now, but yeah, like coming into it. And Source Horseman, I think, has a lot of stuff on there. I think,
well, you and I did that one episode on the sizes of figures, and I think we went through like 15 different sizes of figures.
Yep.
And that's not even including the new stuff from like Rise of the Beast coming out. So
so it's a lot, but if you throw the right question out, you find the right people. Like, most people, we were talking about how great the community is, and 90% I agree with you. There's a handful of people that are just sour grapes. And maybe they're not trying to bum everybody out, but it happens. And for whatever reason, if it's intentional, stop it. If it's not, hope you're okay. But like any group with this, especially the Cabal being the size that it is, some people see, it's like, oh, they're just a new person. They don't know XYZ, but it's not like, I don't feel like this is the hipster, like, oh, you found the band that used to be cool, but now that everybody likes them, I don't like them anymore kind of thing. Like, we're all still here because we love this stuff, and we love the community aspect of it. And, helping people out. Like, I always get excited when I see someone ask a question. I go to answer, and damn it, if Cullen or Cloud haven't already answered the question, I'm like, well, all right.
Yes.
And despite having been here for, I don't know, 4 years now, I still feel new because I wasn't part of the early years. Like, that's just in my brain. I still feel like a new guy, and the other newbies are right here with me. Like, you know, I might know the terminology, but I'll forget your name in person until I meet you a couple times.
Right.
I got a couple questions that came from the chat. I just want to answer real quick. Eric asked if I collected the DCUC. I did not. I was out of toy collecting at that point. I had all the Superpowers figures when I was a kid, and then stopped collecting toys, and then got back in, and now it's, you know, Mafex or McFarlane. And then Kevin asked me if I'm getting the new Mafex Robin. I have not ordered it yet, but I really want it. I really want it. So
that's another rabbit hole I fell into the last 2 or 3 months of collecting, and that's because, you know, there was that. I'm always nervous when I'm looking at something like, do I is something to get into or not? And then like there was the third party, fourth party, the Marvel, the CT toy stuff. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll grab that because it's cheap and everything else. I just want to see what it's like. But then it was one of those like, oh, now I want to see what the official one looks like. And then I started grabbing. There's a lot now, but definitely Arena Superman, because that was one of my storylines that was captivated me when I was a kid. So when I saw all the figures coming out, you know, I just naturally gravitated to them, and then picking up Bane, and then the Captain America, because Cap is my ultimate Marvel hero that I if I had to get rid of any other figure, he would be the very last one. So I appreciate that whole idea, like, you know, if it's the DC line or there's certain characters, and collecting Mafex has been a new hole.
Yeah. It'll get you, man. Those figures are so freaking good. The articulation, you know, it's like a lot of folks when you talk about Legion, especially when people start criticizing the articulation, like one of the main things you'll hear is you know, well, it's not Spider-Man. Well, sometimes you need a Spider-Man, you know, like so like Mafex making a Spider-Man, it's like, wow, this really can move like Spider-Man. Like they do a damn good job of like creating that articulation when you do need a Spider-Man. So but yeah, their figures are really good. It's, for me, it's been the Reign of Superman that they've been doing has been awesome. The Hush Batman series has been great. And then with I've got a big X-Men display upstairs, and with that, I kind of use the Marvel Legends one as a space filler until I get a Mafex one. And once I get the Mafex one, the Marvel Legend one, hit the road, Jack. You're out of here. So
as an X-Men fan, and then Jesse brought it back up with Legos before. Did you pre-order, or did you get that X-Mansion Lego set, or have you seen that?
Oh, I'm not a Lego guy, but Jesse.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was just like X-Men.
I saw that a few years ago when it was in the running for the Lego Ideas or whatever, and I was like, that thing's never going to get made. Like that's too much. It's awesome. I don't get the Lego. Like I got the last thing of Lego I got were the D&D blind box ones. Like I got all of those. But I don't have anywhere to display. Like, there's definitely Lego I want. Like there's that Viking village. There's like the medieval town square. I'm like, man, I would love those, but I don't have anywhere to put them unless they get rid of Legions, and that's not going anywhere. So it's awesome. But yeah, I would love to have it, but I don't have anywhere to put it.
Lego, like just the idea of Lego stresses me out. Like I'm just like just thinking about all of those parts, and like you got to put them together right order. And if you don't do I have to read the instructions? I hate reading. Like it's just a whole, like it feels like I'm buying a box of work. Like I got enough work. I don't need a box of work that I'm purchasing. So
well, it's not reading because there's no words.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It just seems stressful. So it's not for me. At one point I was getting the Masters of the Universe Mega Block stuff, and then I would like make my kids put it together for me.
I love the build. I love the build process. Years ago, I got the Isengard Tower that was like 3.5 feet tall. I put together in one night. Like, I mean, I stayed up. I mean, took me like 8 or 9 hours to do it, but I was just like, ding, ding, because I got to see this done.
Nice.
And, but I've gotten rid of pretty much all my Lego except for like the couple pirate sets I have and Bag End and the minis.
Touching with something that we looked at earlier, when you guys scroll through your Instagram feed and you see a picture like we had earlier with Darla's Cape, or a product that you sell and you see someone has really created a really amazing shot with it, how do you get that? Like, is one of those like, that's my boy type of moment, or is it like, oh, they did it really, that looks really good like that, or is it the opposite effect? Like, oh, well, I wish they would have just tweaked the head, or they would have put it on this body instead. Do you get that type of feeling sometimes if you see photography or anything like a post on Facebook groups or the Cabal like that?
Jesse?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I see Curtis's cape in a picture, Darla's capes in a picture, or Carver Customs lights, and it's like, oh, there are those moments that just, are like, oh, that's really cool. Or if I always love it if I catch something in the photograph before I look at the handle, and I'm like, oh, this is a Nate picture. Oh, yep, that's a Corona 4. Or, oh, this is a Captain Firebeard Baker.
One of my favorites from you is when you were that picture that Rygon did a week or two ago, where you're like really enjoying the picture, and then after a few seconds you realize that he used the head that you painted. like it took you a second. You're like, oh man, this is really cool. Wait, I did that. like it's took you a second. I love that. Yeah, that's cool. I for me, lately it's been when people tag me because of something they tried based on something I talked about on my channel. Because that man, there's nothing more exciting. Like, I don't care how many like subscribers I got on my YouTube. I don't care how many watch hours or any of that kind of stuff. If I get a tag in the Cabal or on Instagram where like, hey, I tried this new technique based on something Curtis said, or I decided to get my paints out. It's been a while since I painted, but I just got motivated after watching Curtis. I'm like, fuck yeah, because that's like, there's so many other non-productive things that you could have been doing. There's so many like stressful things that you could have been worried about or whatever. But instead you picked up a paintbrush and you did something and I helped you get there. And like, yeah, that's freaking awesome. So I love that.
There you go. Canceled his medical insurance because Curtis told him to.
That might not be a good idea. Yeah.
You have good or ill. So,
yeah.
The reason I ask that question sometimes is that's one of the things, as I said, dabbling with photography and putting stuff on Instagram, I feel nervous sometimes if I'm like, all right, I have this mythic figure and I want to take the shot. I'm like, there's so many awesome people out there that do this stuff. I don't know if I do it justice, and that's
nothing to worry about.
Something kind of hold me back a little bit.
Yeah, that's never anything to worry about. I mean, it's not a competition. That's like the same as there's some customizers in our community that'll be like, oh well, I was gonna do a custom of this figure or that figure, but then somebody else did it. It doesn't matter. Make your own. Like, do your own thing. Like, just because somebody else did it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's not a race. It's not a competition. It's just fun. It's having fun, and it's all it's about, man. I mean, these are freaking toys. We're supposed to be having a good time.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's one of the things we talk about a lot during the shelf selection part. Is you see someone. I mean, granted, a lot of the photographers are putting a lot of effort into the shot. Now, I mean, that might be what they do. That's their hobby. That's their getting the paintbrush out. Like, that's something they enjoy, or, it's part of their job or whatever. But whether you're, you or Ryan or Nate Strong or whoever, Jesse Fire Eisen doing the BBTS photos, you know, now, and or you know, you're just me taking you know, what, oh, here's my Dubon and my custom and my light box that I don't know how to properly use, but you know, you're playing with your toys, you're enjoying your hobby, and like Curtis said, whether you're getting thousands of likes or not, like if you're having fun with it, I mean, there is always that creative itch in the back where like we want to get recognition for what, or at least noticed. Like we're like, hey, I did this. You at least want one person to be like, hey, this is really cool. And but it just yeah, just do it. Whether you know it's customizing or photos or writing stories, like Lady Alexis does. You know, writing all the stories she does for the characters. Like that's one thing when you were asking about how like the creative stuff earlier. I forgot to say that there was something about getting into customizing, just legions in general, and the customizing that opened up a part of my imagination that I don't remember connecting with in that way since I was a kid. Like I've always been like writing and coming up with stories and drawing, but there was something about the physicality of the toys and the coming up with the stories I did, like what He-Man and the Masters were going to do to defeat Skeletor, or how the Turtles were going to take down Shredder. When my buddy Sean and I would hang out, and we'd like come up with these stories of what we were going to play out for like the story we were going to do that day. So, you know, there's you're having fun with it. Someone else is going to have fun with it too. So, I mean, share away. I mean, Instagram sucks because the algorithm's weird. You know, it's going to do what it's going to do unless you're actively trying to improve what's coming into your feed. If that makes sense.
For sure. All right. Well, as far as what you got going on, where like do you have a show coming up soon that people should be aware of? What's the next, like, what's the cadence frequency of your YouTube?
Oh, well, I'm trying to get my cadency to actually exist this year. That's something like I said, that part of the break, it was a lot of stuff that I felt like I was just going through the motions towards most like the toys that I have. There's a lot of amazing people out there that sit there and can break down the toy and you know, here's the articulation and everything. I mean, I'm with two of them every week. So some of the things that I was thinking about during the break that I wanted to bring into, there were 7 goals for 25 that I wanted to do. And one of them was just being more consistent on what I produce. And the second one was really engaging the more creative side of things. And the simplest part for me now, because again, I have a whole bunch of paints and stuff, but I need to get that edge to get things going and pull it out and start painting. But this has been going on back behind here, but it's just printing, 3D printing stuff. I enjoy doing that. And so I'm trying to be more creative in that aspect. And like, you know, I started again with action figures, I started building stuff. So I created, you know, there wasn't enough vehicles that I wanted. So this is one of my favorites as a kid.
Nice.
So I found some files and I printed this devilfish.
Very cool.
And again, through the therapeutic way of YouTube, which is something rare to say sometimes about it. But between that and Facebook, I started talking to really awesome guys and gals that are creating this stuff. Like, I can't design crap like this, but I can print it, you know, and play around and you know, fill in the gaps and paint things. But this is something like I've been talking to some really cool and talented folks, and it's me wanting to tap into like their experience. And that's something I want to talk with the channel, is be more of a creative aspect of things, whether it's just building a 3D printed vehicle or, you know, things like, all right, well, here's how you can smooth this out, you know, with resin and baby powder. How do you go through that? You know, for me, like talking to some people like, oh, well, I'd love to 3D print something, but it has all those lines and doesn't look like a toy. I'm like, well, it's still a toy. It still has features, but just little things like that I've learned through watching YouTube that I'm like, well, if it's repeating it, then I'll go do that. And I started last year with things like dyeing action figures, getting Rit dye and figures apart and doing that. So that's some of the stuff that I'm going to do with my co-hosts, my best friends. Every Thursday at 9:00, we have our Figure Action podcast where we were doing news before, but now it's become more of like a conversation time, like this, just sitting down and shooting whatever comes about within the toy community, what we collect, what our thoughts and hopes and dreams, all this other stuff.
Awesome logo, by the way. Love the font and everything on that. It's cool.
Oh, yeah. Is this made by Extra Zero? He had a bunch of different designs put together, so it's always fun. And then we are, Dave and I are trying to get more people on to Figure Reaction, because that's something I wanted to do a lot more of, is talk to those that are behind the scenes. Like you said, whether they're starting off with a Kickstarter or they are sitting down like you were talking today, just away or creating something or drafting. That's the type of stuff that I really want to see, because everyone can go out and buy the stuff that big companies are going to give us. That's what we want. That's what we want to do. But how do you go to that next part in your collection, whether it's customizing or kit bashing, taking photography? There's this new rush on like taking some photos and then using AI and making motion comics out. That there's the ethical side of everything on that, but if it's just for the idea of like, you have a picture that you've taken and now it's in motion, whether it's for 10-15 seconds, it's something that we didn't joke about, but we always like hope, like, when's the Mythic Legions Netflix anime coming out, so we can see the fights that began everything, and there's a lot of stuff I'd like to do, and that's my curse as well. Is like, I get my head wrapped around 5 different things, and then maybe one of those 5 things actually happens. So I'm trying to slow down, keep focused, and be consistent. So that's what I focus on.
A lot of this stuff, we collect these toys because they make us feel a certain way, right? Like when we were kids, we remember having good times with action figures and toys and a lot of these properties. Now, Mythic Legion's different because it's not something we grew up with. We don't know who these characters are. We didn't, it's new. But a lot of the stuff that we collect is stuff that's kind of just been rehashed over the last, 40 years. But back then, we would make these stories in our head, like Jesse was saying. We would have these kind of storylines on what this battle was going to be and who was going to be aligned with who and who's going to be against who, whatever. And we would smash our figures into each other and throw them in the bathtub and take them outside, bury them in the dirt and all this kind of stuff. Well, most of us aren't doing that now. Like, we're not taking toys in the bathtub and burying them outside and stuff. So now it's like, what's your new form of playing with these toys and having fun? And for some people, it's just pulling them out of case and posing them and putting them on the shelf. Some people, it's photographs. Some people, it's pop and swap. Some people, it's painting. Some people, it's making creative dios so that you have these like scenes that the figures are living in. Whatever that is for you, whatever that form of play is that allows you to feel like you did when you were a kid, hey, freaking go for it, man, because that's what it's about. It's just capturing that little bit that's keeping you young and keeping you happy and not making you feel like a grumpy old man that's telling kids to stay off your lawn. So
yep.
Beautiful.
Xander, you weren't supposed to tell anybody about this.
So, all right. So, this, we wrap up around 2 hours. We're a little over that, but, it's a great conversation. So I really appreciate you being on. We got you at Junkion Crafts and Builds on Instagram, and then the same on YouTube, right? Or is it slightly different?
I think it's Junkion Crafts and is spelled out.
Okay,
But
and okay.
I do have them tagged in the description of the episode. So if anybody's
Okay.
watching this, both of your handles are in the description. That'll take you right to your pages.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Beautiful.
And,
so yeah, go ahead.
The invite is open to come and join us on a Thursday or a Monday and just sit down and continue to talk about stuff. So
absolutely, just let us know when. I mean, on Mondays, Jesse and I every other week we do a D&D campaign, but other than that, yeah, let us know. We'll be there. So I would encourage you to check out Ostradamus Toys, Oz's Clubhouse on Saturday nights. Another Baltimore guy. I think you guys would get along great. And one thing that's great about Oz's Clubhouse on Saturday nights, if you're ever available, is it's typically a bunch of YouTubers, a bunch of people that have their own channels that pop into that clubhouse, and they all just kind of talk about toys. They talk about what's going on in their channels. They help promote each other. Like, you know, one of the guys that was in there the last few weeks, Kenzo, he's trying to get the watch hours up on his channel. And so instead of streaming, like they multi-streamed it to multiple YouTube accounts, and they told everybody, hey, instead of watching it on Oz's channel today, go watch it on Kenzo's channel so that he can get his watch hours up. And then they just sit around and talk and have fun, and they support one another. So I would advise checking that out. I think, like I said, I think you and Oz would get along pretty swimmingly. So
I definitely will. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. A bunch of people with their own channels, plus Joe. Yeah, but Joe's he's Mr. Offworld at this point. I mean, come on. Like he can't do Offworld without Joe. It just doesn't feel right. So but Mike, dude, it's been awesome. Anything else that you want to share? Any conventions you got coming up that you're going to, or anything else that
well, I'm hoping to shake Jesse's hand here again on March 1st up at ZoloCon.
Very nice. Very nice. And then I'm guessing you're probably going to go to the Maryland Toy Expo this year?
Yes.
Beautiful.
So I got that. Then definitely Legion's Con. I try to stick mostly to stuff here, like in the East Coast area.
Yeah.
But my family and I haven't had a decent vacation in a while, so we're talking about going to down to Texas to go to DFW here this summer.
Oh, nice.
We'll see. I don't do heat that well, so
yeah, I'm not a big heat guy.
But it's another thing. Like you said, as much as the community we've talked about tonight with Legion's Con, it's the same way with a group that a group of Valaverse friends. Definitely had a great time with them. My first action figure convention was actually Joe Fest in 23, and waiting in line, there was a couple that was behind me, and just they were talking about things that were really excited. And again, it was a cool part where just turn around and like, oh yeah, I'm excited to see this too, or like Larry Hama's there and such, and we just started hanging out, and I've been friends with them ever since. Vishay and Sam, they're just two beautiful, amazing people that they're going to be celebrating a new life together here this year, so I'm really excited for them, and
that's awesome.
Getting a chance to see them face to face again in Dallas this year will be a highlight for me. So
very cool. Beautiful. Well, we appreciate you coming on. This has been a ton of fun. Everybody check out his Instagram, YouTube, and look forward to seeing him at ZoloCon, Legion's Con, and Baltimore, the Maryland Toy Expo, as well as maybe if he can stand the heat down south. So all right. We're gonna put you backstage. If you've got time to hang out, absolutely do that. We'll be right back with you. But if you got to run, we understand that too. We'll close out the show, and then we'll see you hopefully in a few minutes.
Well, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate the chance to talk with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mike.
A lot.
Yeah, had a blast.
That was fun. He's definitely fun. He's a natural interviewer, though. You could tell, like he flipped the tables on us a couple times. There.
I was like, wait, whose show are we on now?
Yeah. What the hell are you? hey, buddy. We're supposed to be asking.
We asked the questions here. Yeah. No, those were good questions. I like those.
That was a good conversation. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Beautiful.
Excellent.
I hope you don't mind if I do a little cheap plug for my other channel real quick. You okay with that?
Yeah.
And the reason I want to do that is because I got something really special happening tomorrow morning. I've got my how do you do that, or how did they do that series. And tomorrow morning is the one with Darla Akerman. It's been a very highly requested episode. A lot of people have asked for me to have her on, and she doesn't do a whole lot of YouTube. She doesn't like doing the YouTube stuff. But I got her on, and she talks start to finish how she makes her capes, like goes through the whole process. I learned a lot personally. Like, I mean, I sit there, I've sat next to her while she's done this. I've helped her pick out fabrics. Like, I've done all this stuff, and I learned a lot from sitting there and just going through it with her. I thought it was very interesting myself. I think a lot of other people will too. So tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, that'll drop on the Art by Akerman channel. And I'm just super excited for that. For anytime, like, listen, I know she's amazing. And anytime that I can kind of share that amazingness from her with the world, I'm all for it. So,
well, I don't know if you saw a comment. Someone earlier said, based on what you were going to get rid of or collect or something, that your table was revoked. Oh, because you said you like MuskeCon better than Legion's Con.
yeah,
your table was revoked. It's just Darla now. And I almost said it pretty
gotcha.
much is anyway, but
I mean, yeah, for the most part. She took all the pressure off of me. Now that I can just make whatever I want. I don't have to worry. That's what, I didn't have to paint heads last year. I was so excited. I was like, I don't have to worry about painting heads. Like, they're coming to see her anyway. So
well, awesome.
Yeah, a little cheap plug for the channel. So
yeah, absolutely. And folks, if you're not watching the Art by Akerman stuff and you are curious about customizing or want to up your game or just learn or see how Curtis does stuff, and the other folks that he gets to do these, how they do that and all the different things. I don't get to watch a lot of it, but I know you're giving out good stuff because I see the way people are responding to it. So congrats on that, and check out Art by Akerman.
Thank you. And I do have one of the other episodes coming up this week. I think the thumbnail for it, I look the most beautiful I've ever looked. So I'm just
the thumbnail.
Just throwing no, thumbnail. The thumbnail, like the picture. I'm just telling you, I look pretty freaking gorgeous. So you might want to tune in for that. I believe that's going to probably hit on Tuesday. But I mean, people aren't going to be ready. I'm telling you right now, people are going to be like, whew, I got the vapors. That's what they're going to be saying. So,
okay.
But we've got a show next week, right?
We certainly do. Joining us all the way from West Virginia is my dear friend, Brendan Gallagher. He is a musician and a avid Lego and Star Wars collector. I have not gotten him into Legions yet. He keeps saying he wants to get one of my customs, but I don't know if he has something specific he wants from me. But my goal is to get him to get his first Legions this year. And if that means I got to customize something and just send it to him, we'll do that. But he was one of my first guests on when this show started, before Curtis joined me as co-host. It'd be cool to hang out with him, see what's going on with his collection, and maybe try to bullying him into, getting some Legions, cosmic or mythic or otherwise. So
you do love converting Star Wars fans into Cosmic Legions fans. Like, that's one of your things at this point. So
see, I'm like the anti-hipster. I said this before. I want my friends that I care about to be able to enjoy the things I also enjoy. And if we have other common ground, that's fine. But if I can get them into this stuff, yeah. Plus, I just think, he'll probably have some really great embarrassing stories to tell about me, which, not that Gallagher. He is in a band. He's in a band called Last Year's Model. If you want to check it out on streaming services, it's pretty good, pretty decent rock band. And he is the guitarist and lead vocals. So yes, Mike, thank you so much for being here. It was really great to be here. Check out his channels. I look forward to seeing you at whatever East Coast shows you make it to this year.
Absolutely.
Where'd it go? Let's get Oasis off the screen there. He might either love or hate that reference. I don't know which way he's going to land on that one.
We'll find out next week.
We will.
You know why we're gonna find out next week?
Why?
Because everybody loves.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I can get him to come to Legion's Con, that'll be
the thing.
That would be great. That would be great. Just to come hang out. I think he would enjoy the folks.
Come for the toys, stay for the people.
I will say this: he's one of the few people I can't, with all honesty, call it a fist fight. It wasn't that kind of fight, but he is the one person in my life that I've almost gotten into a physical altercation with.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've not even upset you that much.
No. He was upset. I was trying to walk away. Anyway, he
okay.
jumped on my back, and I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. What did Andre the Giant do in Princess Bride? So I just started smashing him into the wall.
You found boulders and just smashed him into boulders?
No, I just started like smacking him into the wall behind me, and then he let go, and I went into a different room.
You told him how fighting one man is a lot different than fighting half a dozen?
Yes. Yes. You only have to worry about one.
All right.
Anyway, yeah. So tune in next week for Brendan Gallagher, not a member of the Oasis family, right here on Shooting the Shelf. But until next time,
what's on your shelf?
No!